So here's the On3 radiator out of the car here. I got my transmission cooler on the front there with the little trans fan on it. So I've got my cooling fans in though. So I'm getting these kind of mocked up here. They end up being a little bit bigger than the overall size they had specified, but gonna end up something probably like this right here. I'm just gonna have to try and find a way to get my little zip ties through to not interfere with the transmission cooler and the transmission cooler fan. The zip tie that's in there, that's gonna clear just fine. That's one thing I was kind of worried about a little bit, but those should clear just fine. So shouldn't have any issues there as far as that goes. So there's the fans mounted up. So for this one I actually did have to clip one of the transmission cooler ones, but I'll put it somewhere else where it won't get in the way. But yep, got the transmission cooler mounted and fan on, and that's all clearing in here. All clearing just fine. I am going to power it up just with my power probe, just so it all, because these might bend a little bit or get a little funky under high speed. So I am going to hook them up to my power probe and power them up and make sure that it's not going to, they're not going to flex any and hit these deals inside there. This one, there's no issue with that one. This one's good to go. It's just where it needs to go. But that's how it's going to be right there. So I'm going to get my GoPro hooked up to the battery and power that thing up and see if any of that flexes and touches. Alright guys, so I went and found some hoses that'll work for this, man. I went and dug through the O'Reilly archive, took the stock ones up there and just kind of marked them with what they needed to do, and went and found a couple that would, I think, are going to work just fine. I tried this one on already, but this is the upper hose that I found. It's a Gates 23018. So the way this one's going to work is it's going to come out of the pump like this and then point straight up to that little 90 that comes on the radiator there. So that's how this one is right here. I'll put it on real quick. I'm going to get some clamps for it, and then I can show y'all what it looks like on there. So here's this hose on here. You see, clamp down there. I'm going to have to do something with this wire, but clamp down in there. And it comes out underneath the boost pipe. comes down and cuts up to here. And if you're doing this, I'd recommend it, I mean, it's all about turbo placement. This is just this kit's here, other kits it's over in the center, but you're gonna want to I'm gonna get a turbo blanket on here. I'm gonna get a blanket and heat wrap my exhaust and everything. That's something you're gonna want to do for sure. And maybe even get one of those, like some radiator hoses at O'Reilly's come with a big conduit piece on it, just a type of cover. I might look into getting something for that as well. But that's the upper one on. So now I'm gonna show y'all this lower one. I'm not too sure if this one's gonna work, but it's coming out here. This one's Gates 22139, and it just comes out. The long side you'll put to the water pump or the thermostat housing, and then the bottom side will come down here. But that's the wrong angle I'm seeing down there. I'm gonna go and see if I can manipulate or anything without it kinking, and then I'll let y'all see that as well. So that lower hose isn't going to work. I'm going to have to find one. The outlet on the radiator is 2 inches, and it's actually too small, and that's kind of the wrong bend, so I'm going to have to give an update on that. But another thing you're going to have to do with this radiator is this little hose right here that comes from your throttle body under there from the steam tube. This port right here, you can actually use it instead of having to do some stupid thing in your radiator hose. This is a fitting you'll need here. This is a 3/8 pipe thread and a 3/8 nipple on it. So this is the one I got here. That's the part number for it right there, 785-406D. That's at O'Reilly's as well. But that's all you'll need for this, is just this one fitting. You'll do some Teflon tape on it, tighten it up, and then that hose can go right there to that, and then that'll solve that issue right there. So go ahead and get that in there. Alright guys, so here is the lower hose, in and on. So it ended up being a Master Pro 21615 is what worked. That's what they had in stock. I'm sure you can get Gates if you wanted to go with the Gates. They didn't have it. That would be the same part number, I believe. But man, this thing is a perfect bend for this. It's like perfect for this. It's the perfect size up there for the thermostat housing. It comes down, it goes down around the boost pipe, and then the hose actually goes up to the bigger size right here. So that's all perfect. It touches the boost pipe a little bit, but it's actually not touching the boost pipe. It's touching the silicone coupler a little bit. But I mean, I could probably work it up a little bit more to get it off there. But so I did have to cut a little bit off this hose off of each end. But I mean, hell, it was a $14 hose, and that's pretty good fitment there for something that I just tossed on there, something that I found. So let me show you here. So these are the pieces here that had to be cut off. So this is off of the radiator side. That's about 1 inch that had to be cut off, and then this is on the thermostat side. It has a little bit of a radius, that hose, when you first buy it. Up there on that radiator hose, right after the radius on the upper part of that hose is where you're going to want to cut it. So that's about 2.5, about 2 inches, 2.5 inches or so from this side, and then about 1 inch off of this side, and that gives you that perfect fit. So there's the end of that radiator saga for this thing. So it's not much of the stand up, but it's what's going to work, and it really gives you a lot more room, even angled like this, than the factory one. The factory one, I mean, if you go and pop your hood and you still got the factory radiator, that all is almost all the way to the throttle body. So they're still, with it angled right here, I mean, I still picked up a foot, probably at least, of clearance. So, because it's a lot more lean than this normally. But so probably picked up about a foot of clearance, a lot more cooling capacity. Had to change up the hoses a little bit, but that's all right. So all right, I'm gonna get her all filled up, wire up this transmission cooler fan, and then be good to go. Got the fans in here and they're all wired up already. So I got them wired up to the factory fan setup. So one of them will kick on at whatever temp factory, and then the other one will kick on at a certain temp, the other temp, and then AC. But so yeah, that's it. If that ends up not working, I'll give an update on how it does and then cools and everything whenever it gets running. But that's where I'm gonna end it off.